Hi everybody, Brian from Steeda, highlighting our Pro Action non-adjustable struts and shocks for the S550 Mustang. Everybody knows that individual suspension components can make a huge improvement to the ride quality, as well as the handling and responsiveness of the suspension on your S550 Mustang. Let's back up just a little bit though before we get into the struts and shocks and talk about the springs. Springs are what are ultimately going to control how much force it takes to compress the suspension and then how they rebound from that compression. It's the shocks and struts that ultimately control that compression and control that rebound. Think of it this way. You have obviously force that's compressing the spring. You've all seen cars driving down the road that just seem kind of harsh. You're sort of skipping along the road and well, we might poke a little bit of fun at them, but the reality is maybe someone guided them the wrong way. This is why we talk about the things that we talk about. The shocks and struts are designed to control the car and tone down the spring rate. It's not a bad thing for the suspension to compress. It's not a bad thing for it to rebound. It's how quickly those things happen that's so important. In comes the struts and shocks. The Steeda Pro Action non-adjustable struts and shocks are fixed valve, low pressure design. What this ultimately means to you again is control. And just like the other Steeda products, like our springs and other struts and shocks that we've developed, we spent a ton of time road testing these, track testing these, and racing on them to see what the limitations were, but more importantly, as far as you're concerned, really making certain that the frequency as far as tuning in the front struts and the rear shocks is well matched, regardless of a wide range of springs that you can throw on these. Anything from the stock springs, if you're not looking to lower the car at all, to our minimum drop springs, or our very popular sport progressive springs. When it comes to the timing of replacing your factory struts and shocks, or any suspension component for that matter, it's really important to pick your timing wisely. Can you group some of the items together? If you're considering lowering springs, there's no better time to install the Pro Actions than right at that same moment. Likewise, if you're planning to replace your struts and shocks, there's no better time to replace the springs and do everything all at once. The car's going to need alignment anyway. And speaking of some of these things, we always try to group these pieces together for you so you're thinking about it and budgeting accordingly. When doing these, we do recommend obviously adding the front camber plates. This will allow you to reset the camber to where it needs to be, either adding more negative camber for handling benefits or reducing the amount of negative camber and standing up those front tires to prevent inner tread wear. Again, from the factory, there is no adjustment, so adding these while the struts are apart, well, the shop won't charge you any additional labor time. The alignment shop will be happy because it's much easier to get the car square and straight. Likewise, at the back of the car, if you're replacing the rear shocks, a consideration is going to be the billet rear shock mounts. Now, the Pro Action non-adjustable shocks will fit the factory rear shock mounts, but once again, you've got everything taken apart. There is no better time to switch the bump stop and dust boot over and install these beautiful billet rear pieces that are also much stronger than the factory pieces. Regardless of what's motivating you to make modifications to your Mustang, whether it's to improve handling, ride quality, or all of the above, the Steeda Pro Action non-adjustable struts and shocks are really a budget-friendly way to go about this. You get more durability than the OE factory struts and shocks because of the low pressure design in them, and more ride control regardless of the springs you put on it. Now, we do recommend, as noted a little bit ago, specific springs that we would pair these with. If you have questions about this is a great opportunity for you to post below and we can make recommendations or reach out to us. To build on that further, these are backed by the Steeda lifetime warranty against manufacturer defects. To learn more about these and many of the other great parts that we offer for the S550 Mustang and other Ford vehicles, visit Steeda.com. To see the latest and greatest things that we're putting our Mustang and other vehicles through, check us out on social media. If you enjoyed the content of this video, click like and share it with other enthusiasts and ring that bell so you get notifications of upcoming videos. Thank you so much for watching. Steeda, speed matters.